Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to teach you about the format for computing income from business. Now when you are computing taxable income from business, this is the format which you all have to follow. The name of the SSC, status here refers to whether he's a resident, not ordinarily resident or non-resident. The previous year has to be written and then the assessment year has to be written. Now under particulars, the first item you will write is either net profits or net loss, whatever is given in the profit and loss account. Now, if it is net profits, it will be add inadmissible expenses. On the other hand, if it is net loss, it will become less inadmissible expenses. So whatever has to be added in the case of net profits, in the case of net loss, it will become the opposite. Like inadmissible will become inadmissible expenses over here. It will come over here as less. Now, net profits or net loss as per P&L account has to be written in the outer column. After this, you will add inadmissible expenses debited to P&L account. Now, inadmissible means expenses which are not totally related to business, or these are fictitious expenses or expenses where the validity or of them actually occurring cannot be ascertained. Now, this is your P&L account. Okay, now this is your debit side, this is your credit side on the P&L account. Inadmissible expenses debited to P&L account means these are the expenses which are shown on the debit side of P&L account. Okay. Now moving on to the next item. Now before I move on to that, generally some items, okay, which are called as inadmissible expenses could be all your any direct taxes which you incur. Okay, like income tax, advance tax, these are also called as inadmissible expenses. Like, see, the reason why they are called as inadmissible is because direct tax is a tax which is charged on the income of an SSC, and income from an SSC is computed how? From income from salary, house property. There are so many heads of incomes, right? So that's why incomes on direct taxes is not inadmissible expenses. Then family planning expenses, fines, penalties, interest on own capital, that is also called as an inadmissible expense. Now, the reason why interest on owned capital is also called as inadmissible expenses, supposing I'm an entrepreneur and I'm starting a business, okay, and I've invested 10 lakh rupees. Can I claim in the expenses that I've paid interest on the owned capital of 10 lakh rupees? No, right? I'm showing this as a fictitious expense. Fictitious means an imaginary expense, because what happens, supposing my profit is around 50 lakhs, okay, and in that if I tell that, I have interest on owned capital is around 5 lakhs. Okay, and this is my own capital. If I claim this interest, what happens? My total profit is reduced by 45 lakhs. So earlier I was paying a tax on a profit of 50 lakhs, whereas now I'm paying a tax only on the profit of 45 lakhs. So these are expenses which are fictitious or which are just shown in order to reduce the tax burden. That's why certain expenses are termed as inadmissible expenses. Okay. And another main condition under inadmissible expenses is any expense, okay, which is exceeding 20,000, okay, and it is paid in cash, then 100% of such payment is inadmissible. Now, the reason why we are telling as inadmissible is when you pay in cash, maybe you're paying only 25,000, but you may claim a receipt of 30,000, 35,000. It's very easy, to do all these forgeries. And why will you show extra expenses? Because the more expenses you show, it will only reduce your profit. And when you reduce your profit, your tax burden is also reduced. So any expense, if you pay it in cash, the validity cannot be ascertained of that transaction. And that's why 100% of such payment, okay, exceeding 20,000 is disallowed or it is inadmissible. Now, the next item, again, we have is business or professional income not credited to P&L account, okay, which means that these are items which will not appear on the credit side of P&L account. But when you're doing illustrations, they will be shown under the adjustments. Okay, the next, overvaluation of opening stock. This will be given in the problem. Like if they tell the value of stock was, the market value of the stock was around 100 rupees, but then it has been valued at 115 rupees. Then it is overvaluation. On the other hand, undervaluation is supposing the market value was 100, but it has been valued at 90. Then it is called as undervaluation. So overvaluation of opening stock has to be written. Undervaluation of closing stock has to be written. Next is notional loss. Notional loss is again an imaginary loss which you are showing. Okay. Now moving on to the next item. Less admissible expenses not debited to P&L account. Admissible means expenses which are related to business, but then these are not shown on the debit side of P&L account. So where will they be shown? Again, they will be shown under the adjustments. Okay. Next item, tax-free incomes credited to P&L account. Now, on the credit side, we have the debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. This is the accounting rule, right? So on the credit side, we will write all the incomes. So any income which is not related to business, like if you get income from trading in shares and all, it's not directly related to your business, no? So such expenses, okay, if they are shown on the credit side of P&L account, then they will also appear over here. Next item you have is non-business incomes credited to P&L account. Non-business incomes means incomes which are not related to your business, but which is shown on the credit side of P&L account. Like tax-free incomes could be dividend from an Indian company is tax-free, and if that is shown on the credit side of P&L account, that has to come over here. On the other hand, if I get income from trading, from lottery winnings or puzzle games and all, it is not related to business, so that income again will come over here. Next item is undervaluation of opening stock. Then we have overvaluation of closing stock, and the last item we have is notional loss. Finally, after you write these items in the inner column, then the total of this has to be written over here, and final answer which you get will be taxable income from business. Now the reason why, okay, so I'll repeat again, for net profits, I should add inadmissible expenses and less admissible expenses and all these items, okay? Whereas if it is net loss, you will minus all these items and you will add all these items.